if you were to look at like zoning laws in all the different cities, people think they're all the same, and they're like not. And we don't have a public planning commission, for example, and we're the only city in the area that does not. So, yeah, it's the case that by the time sales are done and SEPA and so on, by the time the public hears about stuff like this, it's almost too late. Whereas in other cities, there would be several town hall meetings to discuss land use and what do we want this area to be. We don't do that kind of stuff here. So to my mind, it's not so much about this, it's about a process that started to go off the rails, that it's a lot harder than it should be. It creates this circular deal where people feel that it's hopeless, and then it becomes hopeless. It's just this reinforcing kind of a thing. So I've had a boat, I mean, my first trip to Des Moines was by boat. We sailed down here, and my first view of the city was from the center line of Puget Sound, and that's Des Moines to me. And you have basically three objects in front of you: the Masonic Home, mighty Mount Rainier, and the moon. And it's like one of the most beautiful things in all of Puget Sound, which makes it one of the most beautiful things on planet Earth. I mean, seriously. And I made a decision to move here. I could have moved to Ballard because housing prices were like equivalent back then, people forget. But it was just as beautiful as Shilshole. It's just beautiful in a different way. And to my mind, this is not Des Moines without this thing. I had friends who spent their last years in here, and so apart from any kind of interior beauty and what people see going by, this thing is intrinsic to the community. We have been instructed to not comment in any way about the I've put up notes saying, hey, you should comment during the process, or you should maybe start a mailing list if you care about this stuff. And I get warnings from the city attorney, and I don't think I'm doing anything wrong, but they take it seriously, the idea of interference. Well, you'd get sued. The city would get sued. I'd get sued. The state takes a dim view of electeds interfering in a property owner's rights to do what they want. We used to have not one but two newspapers, and we've got zero now. And I've testified several times trying to get something going for local journalism because we just don't have it here, and people have no idea what's going on. I was like literally the only civilian at city council meetings for years. I mean, at a time, like years at a time, and I finally decided to run because I'm like, man, but. That's it. Again, it's one of those circular deals. People don't show up, and then they feel like, well, it doesn't matter, and so people don't. And it just keeps spinning around. You have to. The only thing I can tell you is that every time I have seen the public come out in force, it actually has changed policy. There have only been half a dozen times I've been watching council over 13, 14 years. Every time you got a large group of people engaged, it made a difference. It's just that it's so exhausting making that happen. Mr. Kennedy was the mayor, and he went above and beyond the call. He wrote the history of Des Moines. that I wish more people were aware of, and the only bad thing about it is that it stops around 1990, and that's when the fun really kind of began.
Well, you had to shoot the editor and publish at one point, so.
Yeah, right. You know, but this city has gone from it's just, you know, it just 23 something annexations, and it's just been a tremendous amount of change. And I would like to see this building. We have very little park space in the south end of town, and it's the most diverse part of the community now. So there's a justice aspect to creating a community center that we've never had, and our city manager has talked about moving City Hall for many years, and I'm like, the irony is that this is one of the wealthier parts of town, and there's no such thing as coffee or a wine bar or anything like that. And I can imagine a purpose that would combine all three of those, and, you know, then trigger some kind of state and federal funding based on environmental justice, you know, and the community needs. Not simply just, oh, we want to save a pretty building, but actually, you know, do some things that we've needed for a very long time. But that's only because I looked it up to see that there was money available for those purposes. If somebody could find some other worthy things that could get state and federal money, I'm all in, you know. But yeah, it should be useful. It's not here to be just something that, you know, looks, it should perform a, see, the thing is, the people that I knew that lived here, I mean, it was a wonderful way to spend your last days. I just can't, you know, what a blessing it was for people, you know, and it should be put to that same high level of use. Gangs of New York. Okay, so the deal is they show this, there are about 6 different spots all around Brooklyn, Manhattan and stuff, where people once a year took a photo from about the moment that cameras were invented, you know, and so Scorsese found one of those, and it's like looking from Brooklyn back, and I know it, and it just does this like dissolve thing where it goes through, and man, I wish, you know, if I could be, you know, emperor of time and space, if there was some way to do that for this area, because you don't value it because people have only lived, the average person has only lived here about like 5-6 years. They haven't lived here 25, 30 years. They don't have any, and man, if there was just some magical way, you know, to get invested in the spot,